It wasn't just a car. It was desire on four wheels, metal infused with malice, and chrome sharpened by obsession. Christine wasn't born in a factory, she awakened there. When Stephen King wrote Christine, he didn't just craft a story about a killer car. He touched something deeper, the fear that objects could love us back, possessively. And when John Carpenter brought that vision to screen, he wasn't just adapting a novel, he was rebuilding his own shattered confidence after The Thing bombed in theaters. But unlike the shape-shifting horror of Antarctica, Christine came with 4 tires, a jealous soul, and a taste for blood. Behind the flaming headlights and rock and roll soundtrack was a film riddled with contradictions, loved and dismissed, mechanical yet supernatural, forgotten yet unforgettable. The production left behind a trail of wrecked cars, eerie on-set rumors, and lingering questions about who really controlled the wheel. These are 20 weird facts you didn't know about Christine, where fate, fear, and fuel merged into something far more dangerous than Detroit ever intended. Fact Hashone, the car that chose its victims. Before a single frame was shot, the production team had a problem: the car. In King's novel, Christine was a 1958 Plymouth Fury, a model already rare by the early 1982. The studio needed over 20 identical cars to cover all the stunts, crashes, and continuity shots. But Fury wasn't easy to find. So they cheated death and the audience by using a Frankenstein fleet of lookalikes, Belvederes, Savoys, and even custom-fitted parts cannibalized from junkyards across America. Each car had a different purpose. Some were rigged to explode, others to crumple on cue, and a select few remained pristine for beauty shots. But during filming, something stranger began to happen. The stunt drivers started requesting not to use certain vehicles, not because of mechanical issues, but because they felt wrong. Cold steering wheels, radios that crackled when turned off, a sense of being watched. Was it just nerves? Or did Christine somehow extend her influence into the machines pretending to be her? Fact: John Carpenter's redemption arc was personnel. John Carpenter didn't want to direct Christine. In fact, after the brutal, critical failure of The Thing, now considered a masterpiece, he was disillusioned with Hollywood. But Columbia Pictures handed him Christine on a platter, a quick gig, a Stephen King title, and the chance to remind studios he could still deliver. What drew him in wasn't the killer car, it was the possessive love story underneath. The way a shy boy changed violently once he found something that loved him back unconditionally. Carpenter approached the project like a breakup recovery. The cold synth score, the brooding pacing, and the intimate camera work, it wasn't horror in the jump scare sense. It was heartbreak twisted into gasoline. Critics called the film detached, but maybe that was the point. Carpenter wasn't making a horror film. He was making a confession, one where the director might have been Arnie, and Christine his revenge. So was Christine a comeback or a warning? Fact #3, the music that meant more than mood. In most horror films, music is a cue. It tells you when to be scared. But in Christine, it wasn't just background, it was narrative. Whenever the car spoke, it did so through vintage rock and roll songs playing from its radio, always with eerie relevance. Pledging My Love, Bad to the Bone. Songs not chosen for irony but for sentiment. They marked the car's jealousy, its seduction, its pain. Composer John Carpenter, working with Alan Howarth, layered these diegetic tracks with a cold, synthetic score. The contrast was jarring. The warm humanity of the 1950 tunes collided with the machine's emptiness, creating a haunting emotional duality. One that suggested Christine wasn't evil by design, but by heartbreak. There's a moment late in the film when the car plays "I Hear You Knocking" just before attacking. It sounds playful, but the lyrics "You Can't Come In" echo Arnie's growing isolation, or Christine's. Was it the boy driving the car, or the music driving them both? Fact #4, the death scenes were rewritten in the dust. One of Christine's most iconic scenes is the death of Moochie Welch, the overweight bully who gets trapped in an alley too narrow for a car. What most viewers don't know is that the alley was real, not a set, and it was barely wide enough for the crew to fit their equipment. The original script had Christine stopping short, intimidating Moochie before backing off. But Carpenter wanted something visceral. He ordered the team to build hydraulic rigs to contort the car's frame, allowing it to crush inward as it passed through the alley, an impossible, almost supernatural act. The car groaned, glass cracked, metal twisted unnaturally, and audiences were left wondering, how did it even fit? The truth is, the effect was done practically no CGI, no trick photography, just a car being bent like flesh. And here's the eerie part. After the scene was shot, the crew found strange, finger-like streaks of dust dragged across the wrecked Plymouth. No one could explain them. Some say they were just oil smudges. Others think Christine left behind one final scream. Fact #5. The real Christine that wouldn't die. Most of the cars used during production were destroyed, wrecked in stunts, burned in pyrotechnics, or scrapped after filming. But one Christine survived, and she didn't go quietly. A pristine Plymouth Fury used for beauty shots was auctioned off post-filming. The buyer, a collector in California, claimed the car ran too smoothly. But after several months, strange problems began. The radio turned on by itself. The garage dog refused to go near it. One night, the collector returned home to find the headlights on and the engine idling. He sold it within the year. That same Christine changed hands multiple times, each owner reporting bizarre malfunctions, shadowy reflections in the rear view, and an overwhelming urge to keep driving. Was it all coincidence? Or had the car absorbed a little too much from the role it played? Fact #6. Stephen King's subconscious confession. Stephen King has often said Christine came to him fully formed. The idea of a car that loved its owner to death struck him as both absurd and inevitable. But some scholars have read deeper into the novel, calling it a coded metaphor for addiction, a quiet, consuming possession that gives power while taking everything else. At the time of writing Christine, King was battling alcohol and drug abuse, something he wouldn't fully admit until years later. Arnie's transformation in the film mirrors the descent of an addict, the alienation, the denial, the rage, the belief that something external is the only thing that understands you. Did King mean for Christine to be a metaphor? Or did the car simply become one, fueled by the shadows he refused to face? And if Christine is addiction, does that make Arnie the victim or the enabler? Fact #7. The mirror was always watching. There's a recurring detail in Christine that goes unnoticed by most viewers. The rear view mirror. In nearly every scene where the car is active stalking, attacking, or simply idle, the mirror is tilted just enough to reflect the driver's eyes, or sometimes no eyes at all. Cinematographer Donald M. Morgan used this motif intentionally. The rear view wasn't just a prop, it became a silent witness, or perhaps the car's own eye. Several close-ups reveal the mirror turning before Christine moves, a subtle tilt, a glint of awareness. And in one scene, after Arnie dies, the mirror continues to reflect light, flickering, like it's still watching. No crew member ever claimed responsibility for this effect. No motorized rig was documented, just lucky lighting, they said. But if Christine had a soul, wouldn't it want to keep an eye on who it trusted or who betrayed it? Fact #8. Ampere's studio that didn't believe in the film. Columbia Pictures didn't expect Christine to succeed. In fact, studio execs greenlit it mostly because two other Stephen King adaptations were already in the pipeline, Cujo and The Dead Zone. They figured if Christine failed, the others would soften the blow. Budget was tight, marketing minimal, and Carpenter was given strict deadline. That indifference bled into production. Key scenes were shot without permits. Some locations had to be changed last minute. Even the iconic junkyard finale was filmed on an abandoned industrial lot with almost no lighting budget, forcing Carpenter to rely on shadows and silhouettes to build tension. Ironically, those constraints may have helped the film. The darkness wasn't just aesthetic, it was necessity. And it made Christine feel like she really emerged from nowhere. So in trying to bury the film, did the studio actually set the perfect stage for her to haunt us? Fact #9. The unscripted blood on the windshield. In the climactic scene where Christine is crushed inside the junkyard, her windshield cracks slowly, as if in agony. But what wasn't planned was the blood-like smear that appears near the edge of the glass, a reddish trail that runs down slowly, eerily human. Crew members insist it wasn't part of the practical effects. No pigment was added, no tubes rigged behind the dash. Some claimed it was hydraulic fluid from the compression machine. Others weren't so sure. The camera operator allegedly asked Carpenter if he wanted to do a second take to remove the blood. Carpenter reportedly replied, "Why? That's Christine bleeding. Leave it." The moment was kept and now stands as one of the eeriest accidents in the film. An unscripted goodbye, or the last breath of something that had come to life for real? Fact #0. The burning car that refused to die. One of Christine's most unforgettable visuals is the flaming car driving through the night engulfed in fire, yet accelerating with purpose. But here's what few people realize. That scene was not a composite shot. It was a real car, really on fire, really moving. Stunt coordinator Terry Leonard had the insane task of rigging a Plymouth to burn without destroying vital components too quickly. They wrapped the car in fire retardant gel, used specially pressurized gas jets, and masked the stunt driver behind blacked-out windows. The flames were real, the heat unbearable. During filming, the vehicle refused to stop on cue, the brakes warped by heat failed to engage, and the car plowed past the crew's safe zone. A cameraman dropped his rig. Someone screamed, "Christine burned," but didn't crash. Afterward, Carpenter joked she wanted one more take. But was it really just a mechanical error, or had something been awakened inside all that fire? Fact has unknown. The deleted ending that was too cruel. Originally, Christine had a darker ending. Instead of the upbeat shot of a crushed cube and a faint rock and roll tune, the final scene was scripted to show Lee being gifted a brand new car, a red convertible from her father. She smiles, gets in, starts the engine, and hears "Pledging My Love" on the radio. Cut to black. The implication was clear. Christine had survived, perhaps transferred her soul into a new body, or never truly died at all. But test audiences reportedly found it too hopeless, and the studio demanded it be cut. The footage was destroyed, and the scene was never archived. But fans still debate, was that ending too cruel, or was it the only one that made sense? Fact Hassan 2. The Boy Who Changed Too Convincingly. Keith Gordon's performance as Arnie Cunningham remains one of the most haunting teenage transformations in cinema. From meek nerd to brooding sociopath, Gordon's descent felt unsettlingly real, and maybe it was. Off-camera, Gordon reportedly isolated himself from the cast, staying in character during lunch breaks, muttering Christine's lines under his breath. Some called it method acting, others called it obsessive. Even Carpenter noted that Gordon wasn't the same by the end of production. His eyes had changed darker, less reactive. Gordon would later shift away from acting altogether, choosing instead to direct quietly, behind the scenes. Some believe he never quite came back from Arnie. So the question remains, did Gordon play the role, or did Christine play him? Fact Hassan 3. The sound design that shouldn't have worked. Cars make noise, engines growl, tires screech. But in Christine, those sounds were more than mechanical, they were character cues. Sound designer David Stone didn't just record car effects, he crafted them. Many of Christine's growls and revs weren't even automotive. They were animal sounds, slowed down and pitched to resemble fury. In several chase scenes, the engine noises carry a timbre resembling a growling dog. In one moment, a sudden rev mimics a low-pitched human scream. These aren't accidents, they were meticulously layered to make Christine feel alive and, more importantly, angry. There's a chilling detail. When Christine is crushed in the junkyard, the final creak of metal wasn't a car sound at all. It was the recorded groan of a dying elephant. Did anyone notice at the time? Probably not. But maybe that's what made it work. Fear and frequencies we feel before we understand. Fact Hassan for the prom scene that was too real. In a lesser-known scene, Arnie brings Lee to a drive-in during a storm. The moment is tense. The car fogs up. Lee starts to choke. Christine locks the doors. It's one of the most claustrophobic moments in the film, and most of it was shot with zero oxygen control. The actors were sealed inside the car with the heater running, real fog pumped in, and minimal ventilation. Alexandra Paul, who played Lee, truly struggled to breathe. Crew rushed in after the take, pulling open the doors when she started pounding on the glass. Carpenter included the take in the final cut, saying, "You could see the fear was real." Afterward, Paul refused to get into Christine again unless the windows were open. So was it brilliant direction or just recklessness caught on camera? Fact Hassan 5. The license plate with a secret code. Christine's license plate reads CQB 241, an odd string of letters that means nothing. Or does it? Some fans believe it's a reference to close quarters battle, a military term abbreviated as CQB, fitting for a car that doesn't attack from a distance. Others point out that 241 is the page number in the original hardcover, where Arnie first calls Christine his only love. Still others note that the combination of letters and numbers matches a real license plate from a 1978 hit-and-run case in Maine King's home state. The production team has never commented on the plate's meaning. It could be random, but knowing King and Carpenter, would they ever let a detail like that be meaningless? Fact Hassan X, the actor who refused to ride in Christine. Harry Dean Stanton was a late addition to the cast, playing Detective Junkins. A veteran of oddball cinema and known for his "nothing phases me" demeanor, Stanton was famously calm on set until it came time to shoot inside Christine. According to production reports, Stanton refused to enter the driver's seat. He agreed to sit on the hood, walk beside the car, even lean into the window for dialogue, but never close the door behind him. When asked why, he reportedly shrugged and said, "I've had enough women try to trap me. I don't need one with a V8 engine. The crew laughed, but he never explained further. Was it superstition? A joke? Or had Stanton, in all his cinematic intuition, sensed something in that car the script didn't fully explain? Fact Hasson 7, the title that was nearly rejected. Stephen King's original manuscript was titled Christine, but the studio feared it sounded too soft, too feminine, not threatening. Executives proposed alternate titles like Hell on Wheels or Motor Love, hoping for something punchier. Carpenter pushed back. He insisted that Christine was the perfect name, innocuous, elegant, and chilling when framed against the violence of the film. It's scarier when evil looks beautiful, he said. In the end, his instinct won. Ironically, the studio later ran test screenings where audiences said the name Christine made the film feel more personal. It was like watching a love story that killed you at the end, one comment read. So maybe the horror wasn't in the metal, but in giving something dangerous a name you could whisper. Fact Hasson 8, the scene that destroyed the set. When Christine rebuilds herself, metal screeching, glass reforming, it's one of the most unforgettable moments in the film. The scene was done entirely with practical effects, using hydraulic pumps and reverse footage to make it look like the car was healing. But what's lesser known is that the reverse pressure system used to pull the dents out required so much force, it collapsed part of the soundstage roof. The system overheated, screws burst from the walls, a lighting rig cracked loose and had to be caught mid-fall. No one was hurt, but production shut down for 3 days. The scene made it into the film. The broken set did not. So while Christine fixed herself, the studio had to fix everything else. Fact Hasson 9, the prop car that disappeared from the lot. After filming Wrapped, most of the wrecked Plymouths were scrapped or sold off. But one specific shell, the crushed version of Christine used in the final junkyard scene, was left behind at a storage lot in Burbank. Within weeks, it was gone. No record of purchase, no transfer documents, no insurance claim. The lot manager simply marked it as removed by production. Years later, rumors began to swirl that the mangled Christine was spotted in an auto museum in Kansas, mislabeled as a generic Plymouth Fury. Others claim it was bought by a horror collector who refuses to display it publicly, saying she doesn't like being stared at. To this day, no one has confirmed what happened to that final car. It was just gone. Was it stolen? Hidden? Or did Christine, even in her crushed form, find a way to leave? Fact #20, the theory that Arnie never died. In the official ending, Arnie is impaled by a shard of Christine's windshield, dying in Lee's arms. But some fans argue that the scene is deliberately ambiguous. There's no clear autopsy, no funeral. The shot cuts quickly, and the film moves on. What's stranger, the final shot shows Christine's crushed body with a faint, almost imperceptible twitch of a grill bar. It could be mechanical recoil or a breath. Now combine that with a line earlier in the film, "She's not alive. She's just part of me now." Some theorists claim Arnie's soul transferred into the car and that crushing Christine wasn't killing her, but burying him alive. If true, then Christine didn't just consume Arnie's life. She became him. Bonus fact, the letter Stephen King never sent. Stephen King rarely revisits his old works, but in an obscure 1989 interview, he mentioned Christine with a peculiar comment. "I've always wondered if she was supposed to be a love story. Maybe I didn't write it. Maybe she did." A strange statement, but it gets stranger. According to biographer Lisa Rogak, King once drafted a letter to John Carpenter years after the film's release in which he thanked him for showing me what Christine really was. The letter was never mailed. It remained in a drawer, folded behind a rejection slip from Carrie. No one knows what King meant by that, but maybe the car that wrote itself never really let go of her author. Was Christine just a possessed car, or a reflection of the people who loved her too much? Tell us in the comments which fact caught you off guard and whether you think Arnie was ever really in control. And if there's another film you'd like us to dissect next, drop it below. We're always watching, just like Christine.